Hello, I'm Weather and Radar meteorologist James West with a live look at the severe weather that we're keeping an eye on for Friday across the central U.S. This is the latest severe weather map that for tomorrow, for Friday afternoon and Friday evening. We have two zones of concern with this map. The biggest concern right now is we have possibility of a moderate risk across the central Mississippi Valley. This includes the Mississippi Delta area, northeastern Arkansas, the Boot Heel of Missouri, excuse me, and the western part of Tennessee. And another area of moderate risk that we're also concerned with is southeastern Iowa into northwestern Illinois. This is a very complex system that we're going to see tomorrow, and it's going to affect a broad area of the Mississippi Valley. We're talking about an area running from Louisiana all the way up into Iowa and into maybe even to Minnesota and Wisconsin and Illinois. This is a very broad system. It's going to be it's going to affect millions of people Friday afternoon into Friday evening. And so we're just trying to give you a little bit of a heads up a day early to get everybody prepared for this situation. One of the other concerns with this system, which we'll talk about a little bit later, as we look at some of the weather forecast models and such, is that the fact that this could be a repeat of what we saw last week with nocturnal thunderstorms and nocturnal tornadoes. Last week in Mississippi, we had severe weather and deadly tornadoes occur during the nighttime hours, which makes it much harder to see. To witness, and so we have to rely more on radar and being alert and following the warnings that are available to everybody. So that's a concern with this particular system again as we head into the severe season. So the next map that I want to show you is the current surface analysis. And there's a couple key things that we need to note here with this analysis is the fact that we have a low pressure system moving into the Rockies and Central Rockies here with a large warm front moving across the central plains into the Mississippi Valley. And the key here, one of the things that we need to note here is the strong southerly flow that is starting to develop around this low pressure system. As we'll show with a model forecast, model projections on our next couple of images, we'll see that this low pressure system will move out into the northern plains and it will continue to bring this broad southerly flow off the Gulf of Mexico. And that's one of the key ingredients that we need to, this is one of the key ingredients that we see with severe weather setups this time of year. And it's going to be, I'm not going to say a textbook setting, but at least it's one of the things that we need to keep an eye out for as the day develops tomorrow. So the next map I'm going to show you is a more broader forecast model map. This map is the GFS, which is the United States model. It's the most recent model run, which occurred at 12Z, which is 7 a.m. Eastern Time, 6 a.m. Using data from 7 a.m. Eastern Time, 6 a.m. Central Time. And so the keys tomorrow that we see is that the low pressure system is going to jump out onto the Rockies, and as it moves into the upper Midwest, upper Mississippi Valley, into the Great Lakes area, it really starts to develop. And the next couple of maps are going to explain why that develops. And one of the things that we see here is that this broad area of storms are going to develop in this area with large amounts of also rain occurring across the Ohio Valley. And then the other situation that we also have to be concerned about is the fact that there's going to be an area of heavy snow across the Dakotas and into the upper Midwest, into northern Minnesota, into the Great Lakes. You see this dark area, really dark blue areas. That's indicative of a very dynamic system producing a lot of heavy snow. There will be areas in this area that will have maybe even up to a foot of snow with blizzard conditions, which we'll talk about a little bit later as well. But back to the storm system. As the system continues to move through tomorrow and into Saturday morning, it really pushes eastward. And so we see a lot of storms occurring in areas of the eastern plains into the Ohio Valley and into the central Mississippi Valley that will have to be concerned with overnight thunderstorms, which could produce damaging winds, large hail, and a tornado threat during overnight hours. And so that will be another thing that we will be reiterating as the day goes on tomorrow is the fact that there is the timing of the storms and when they develop. Will they develop during the daytime hours, or will and continue through the evening hours, or will they develop in the evening hours and become strongest during the evening hours? Those are the things that we will be keeping an eye out throughout the day tomorrow here at Weather and Radar as this system develops. And then one of the other things that the reason why the system is so strong, and there's a lot of concern with it, is the dynamics that's in the system. And one of the big dynamics that we are seeing within the model output is the fact that there's a very strong low level jet across the Central Plains. There's always in this time of year a low level jet, which is about 10,000 feet above the ground surface, or a little bit even higher. At the 850 millibar levels, for meteorologists, that's 850 millibar levels, we see this very strong winds. We're talking about winds that are 50 knot winds or higher, developing later this evening and into tomorrow night. And as we see, this really strong jet is going to be moving across the Missouri Valley, Mississippi Valley, and into the upper Midwest. And so this is what's going to feed that energy into that system and make it get stronger and stronger. And these winds that are just slightly aloft is going to help feed into those thunderstorms that do develop and bring in the increased risk of damaging winds and tornadoes into those areas. And the other concern with this system is as well, the other component of the system that we do need for severe weather is humidity. And I'm looking at the 2 meter, this is the dew point about 2 meters above the surface, which means this is the surface level dew points. We can really start to see that it really starts to increase throughout the day tomorrow. If we go back to today's situation, we're having dew points that are in the 30s and 40s in these areas, but as the system moves out of the Rockies and we start getting that stronger southwesterly flow off the Gulf of Mexico, we really start to see the humidity levels increase, and the dew point levels get into the low 60s, and this will feed into those thunderstorms, produce the moisture that is needed to produce the thunderstorms, and so therefore we have the components that are there to produce a very widespread thunderstorms and severe thunderstorm risk with the chance of tornadoes in that broad area that we showed earlier. So the next model information I'm going to show you is a more fine gridded North American model. This is the grids are tighter, so this is more precise. And one of the things that we will see with the development of the thunderstorms as we go through the day tomorrow, it's projected that we'll see a warm front develop across Iowa. This is due to the warm air, and the cold front's retreating behind us as this low pressure system moves across the Central Plains. And as it continues to move into the Central Plains and starts to really get stronger and stronger, we see that really large burst of snow across the Dakotas and into northern Minnesota. We start to see the thunderstorm development. This is at 21Z, so this would be about 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. We start to see the thunderstorm activity start to develop closer to the low pressure system, where the cold front and the warm front meet, and then we continue to see a lot more thunderstorms start to develop across the central Mississippi Valley and into the Ozarks and the Arklatex region of the Mid-South area. And so as we continue to see, as we progress farther along, we really see a line of strong thunderstorms really start to develop just right ahead of the cold front. The cold front is analyzed right here. So we have that warm, moist air feeding into these thunderstorms, producing these long line of thunderstorms. And so when you see long lines of thunderstorms like this, you get the threat of not only heavy rain and lightning, you also get the threat of damaging winds. When storms line up like this, you get a large threat of damaging winds out of it, and also each individual cell will be capable of producing a tornado. And as we see this occur on Saturday at 03Z in the model run, that means that we're talking about the beginning of the late evening hours, and those areas could be where we start to see the thunderstorms, which means the sunset will be near or after sunset when a lot of these storms really start to get going. And so therefore we have that concern again of nocturnal thunderstorms, nocturnal tornado risk threats all in those areas. And as we continue to move forward along, again, we see the line of thunderstorms occur with a really strong burst of heavy snow across southeastern Minnesota into northern Wisconsin. And when we see these very tight millibars, that is produced. That means that we're also going to see large amounts of wind with that snow, and so there could be blizzard conditions in those areas as well. So the system is not only going to be producing the severe weather concern, but also the blizzard concern across the upper Midwest and into the western Great Lakes. And as we continue on a little bit deeper into Saturday morning, the thunderstorm activity moves into the southeast with heavy rains and a line of thunderstorms moving through the Tennessee Valley into the Appalachians and in the upper Great Lakes, the upper peninsula of Michigan into northern Ontario. We see the strong snow potential there, and so that's and then the next map is a little bit even a finer forecast model. We see it's a similar setup continue. We see the low pressure move out of the Rockies and through the morning hours of Friday, and then as Friday afternoon comes along, the low pressure really starts to strengthen. We see it drop from 990 to 983 millibars. We see the development of strong thunderstorm cells across central Iowa into Missouri, and then we see again the snow across the Dakotas into northern Minnesota and everywhere else. So and as we continue onward into Saturday morning, again strong thunderstorms across this area of eastern Iowa, northern Illinois, and then also into the parts of the central Mississippi Valley. And then as we continue to skip forward into the evening, it also has a line of really strong thunderstorms moving across the eastern plains of Indiana and into the lower Ohio and central Mississippi valleys. And so therefore that's why we continue. That's why you have those two areas of strong risk of moderate storm conditions across that southeastern Iowa area. That's due to that area where the low and the low pressure system comes together with the warm front and the cold front coming southward. That's where we're going to see where the risk for severe weather is. And also we have the risk of severe weather farther south where the more humid air is and everything else is occurring. So as we have noted, there is the risk for nocturnal thunderstorms. And so one of the things that you need to make sure that you have if you live in that area is that you have your severe weather safety guidelines set up. Make sure you have a place to go in safety. Make sure you have multiple ways of receiving alerts from multiple alerts from the National Weather Service when a warning is issued, whether it's a weather radio, an app like ours, and also TV or local radio as well. So make sure you have that, and then of course you always make sure that during severe weather you find a place, if you don't have a basement to be in, find an interior room without any windows, cover yourself up with mattress or other items. If you're in a car, try to find a safe area to go, and be prepared. And one of the other things, make sure that you can check weather and radar throughout the day. We provide a hourly forecast for all the conditions available. We even include details of weather alerts for tomorrow, for the day, and then we also offer a weather radar, which allows you to be able to zoom in and out of the weather conditions, and you can see weather from the previous 24 hours all the way up through Sunday, which is the next 4 days. And so therefore you can see the weather developing, get an idea of when the storms will arrive in your areas, and be able to plan out your day as we go forward. So that's all I have for today. We'll be up. The full staff of Weather Radar meteorologists will be on duty on Friday to keep everybody updated on this developing storm situation. Make sure that you stay tuned. Make sure that you are prepared if you live in those areas, and we hopefully and have a great rest of the day. I do see that there is one question here. I'm going to read it. Go ahead and read it and see if we can answer it. The chat is open if you have any other additional questions, so I'll try to answer them if they come in, and we'll stay on here for another couple minutes. Okay. Well, I don't know what the chat question was for. I don't quite understand it, so so I can't really help with that question. All right, then. That is all I have for today. We'll be back We'll be back tomorrow with another live report probably in the late morning, early afternoon hours. Stay safe out there and have a great day.